be repaired. Now, Dr. Gordon's recommendations for the Impulsor, well, the same for all the PEMF devices that we saw before. It's great for inflammation and pain, bite stings and trauma, arthritis, muscle injury, neuritis, neuropathy, carpal tunnel syndrome, tissue healing for us women for menses and childbirth pain, nerve repair. It's really good if you ever had the shingles. Fracture healings, heart disease. This is the reason why Dr. Gordon invented the e-Impulsor, because he had myocardial ischemia. He needed a heart transplant. And he said, I'm going to invent a device that will regenerate the muscles in my heart that have been damaged from heart attacks. And he had worked in the Navy and had access to a lot of PEMF information and journal articles. So he put being a medical doctor, he was able to put the two and two together and work with an engineer to develop this device. And as you know, he said, he always wore it. He always wore shirts that had a little pocket next to the heart because his little device was always in there. And he wore it and survived almost 20 years and never had a heart transplant. And after a year of using his device, he got so well, he was able to do heavy exertion, which before he could not do. And he biked. He bicycling cross country. And he would stop at radio shows and radio stations and talk about his device as he went along all over the United States. He started in Seattle, where he was from, all the way to the East Coast. That's how well he got with his device. He used it all the time, but it worked. So that's why it also works for strokes, because it's the same thing. It's ischemia. Ischemia means very limited blood flow to your cell. And of course, if there's no blood flow, you're not getting oxygen, and your cells are going to start to die. Oh, by the way, that CD, if you want it, it's available too if you wanted it. It's a really nice lecture where he does more of a question-answer on the device. So that's available too. Now, the osteopad, we designed this one because we kept getting calls from people saying, yeah, we love the Impulsor, but I want to treat large areas of my body. I got to keep moving it and getting up in the middle of the night to move it and place it somewhere else. Can you make that like larger, or possibly can you make it flexible so that it be, we could wrap it around our knee or leg or put it in my back and not feel that big, bulk in my back? So we said, oh yeah, that's an idea. So when we created this little pad, same principles, the Impulsor, same circuitry in there. Nanosecond rising, so it activates SPS 70. So, and people love it, and they sleep with it. They put it on their mattress pads, and it worked great. But in addition, what we did add a magnetic field of a triple toroid in there, and you see them here, so that you get, there's 6 pancake coils in it, and in a very flexible, totally flexible circuit. I mean, you could bend it completely and you wouldn't hurt it. It's really neat. And getting great results with it as well. Yes?
It doesn't matter what size.
It doesn't matter, no. Because you put it any side you want, yeah. And it's tremendous for osteoporosis. And actually, we also followed up on that because Dr. Gordon also got a lot of calls and requests from people. He said, can you put a bunch of e-Impulsors together so that we could treat the whole body? So that's how he never did get to do it. And then we did realize we got to give him credit. It was his original idea. So now you're going to be starting to wonder, well, what's the difference between PEMFs and magnetic fields? Well, PEMFs are frequency-based. Magnetic fields are static, fixed strength. Okay? The body does not get acclimated, like I mentioned before, to energy fields of PEMFs. Even if you use them for a long time, you do with magnets. And the other thing about magnets, they tend to have shallow penetration, and they rarely treat your whole body at the same time. PEMFs can do that. However, if you put them both together, They work wonderful. There's a synergistic effect that you wouldn't get with no other way, and it's highly beneficial. You get much better results. So why not put them together? They work great together. All right, so where are we moving to? Looking ahead here, because of course, we're looking at electrotherapy that's coming back from 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, 2000. So where can we go with these? How far can we take them now into the future? Well, we all know what's the trend in tech today? Everything is wearable, right? Nano. There's all the venture capital people have predicted that there'll be 19 billion in research by 2018 on wearables. Here we have a guy who's totally suited in wearables. We know about the Google Glasses, where you had access to the internet. You right off, you say you didn't have to move a thing. You got it right there to look at. You got people with conductive clothing that will charge any of your devices, like your cell phone, conductive material on this here. I thought this was really neat. You have GPSs in your shoes. One tells you the distance, the other one tells you how far, the direction you have to go. So, you know, we're saying, oh, Google and Apple, we know they've investing millions, billions already. So this is going to go far. So we're saying to ourselves, well, what can we do in electrotherapy to go ahead and stay in line in the same tune with Google and Apple? And this is what we came up with. We are committed to making a PEMF or PEF device that's going to be wearable. You don't have to have it separate from you. It could be on your clothes. And we're very happy to say we got our first patent that was approved. Took about 3 years. And we did have to have an interview with them because they want to know what was the difference of our device, wearable device, to what was already out in the market. Said hello, because ours are actually healing and therapeutic. The other ones are just doing things, reading, picking up signals. So, so they granted us the patent. These are some of the figures on the patent itself. And we bring we're claiming a lot of stuff, and this is just one of them, is that since electrons are proven to be antioxidants, supplying them to tight clothing with microcurrent is only a natural boosting energy and performance for athletes or anybody, okay? With or without the PEMF mode. We have several ways of doing it, and we're still working on it. So designing these prototypes is our next step. Here's some of the examples of things. You know, if you're an athlete, you may want to use a full suit, like this one for swimmers, or if it's hot conditions, you can wear this. Or for people like us who are not athletes, we just wear it as an undershirt. You know, you wear an undershirt, why not wear one that is giving you all kinds of healing effects? So that's where we're at now with these. There's a lot more ideas, thinking of, you know, thinking caps for students to help them think better when they're doing their exams. Shoes, socks, we claimed a whole bunch of stuff on our. So that's where we're at with that. So in my conclusion, I hope I have shown to you that both the nanosecond PEMFs and nanosecond PEFs are proven to be scientifically safe and effective for healing and maintaining overall health. You know, you don't have to be sick to use them. It's good to keep your body in the optimum state of health. Number 2, nanosecond rising is really the most effective way of flipping the cells on and off switches so that you can manipulate them for healing. And our next step is to try to make these wearable and affordable. Because, you know, what's the point of designing something that's going to cost thousands of dollars? We want to make it where it's going to be affordable. Okay? So I'm ready for anybody has any questions. I do want to say we have a lot of information, journal papers, further stuff that you can just look up in our website. Bioenergydevice.org is especially just on all the PEMF stuff. Osteopath is on the osteopath itself, besides integrityresearchinstitute.org. And we are a nonprofit 501c3 charitable educational organization. So your donations are deductible to the maximum extent permitted by law for income tax. So, thank you very much. I hope I taught you something today, or
That was great. I
elucidated
learned-
you on something that can help you. That's really my focus.
I learned a lot,
Good.
yeah. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, can you design your cheese shirt so you could put a field out all through your whole body so you're not limited to your shirt?
Yes, that's where we're at now. Mhm.
When will you sell one?
I'm sorry?
When can I get one?
When
Will
we
you
get a
make it
little more
extra
money,
large?
because believe it or not, all of the materials that we need to make this happen already exist. People have already developed them. But just to get even samples, they're very, very expensive. So, yeah, I mean, my hope is, next year we can give away samples to people here and try them and let us know how
What
you
kind of-
feel, or how,
Will
you could have speakers talk for 5-10 hours now
you-
on
are
a
you-
topic, because, hey, all the critical radical is
It
being
just-
taken care of,
it leads me to-
quenching it, keeping that TMP high.
It leads me to ask you another question.
Yes.
Are you thinking of giving them away with or without batteries? And where will we put the batteries?
Oh, no batteries included or needed.
What do you have in mind for batteries?
Right. We're going to use a lot of piezoelectric effects. Yeah. Mhm. We have so
Please-
much, I mean,
Please put me down for beta test.
I will. We'll put you all down for beta testing. Yes. Please come to the microphone so everybody can hear. Yeah.
So you're talking about nanosecond, we're talking just the rise time?
Yes, just the rice.
What is the operating frequency? I mean,
sorry?
what is the actual pulse rate or operating
They can
frequency?
be all kinds, as long as
So
they're
it could be-
nanosecond. Yeah, he may be able to answer that better for you.
Oh, okay. So
Right?
you've got a very narrow pulse width. In other words, you've just got a tiny pulse, and it's the rise time that is
Yes.
effective.
The rise time is the factor.
Well, and the fall time too, yeah.
Yeah, ELF is great. ELF is great for all kinds of, I know in the past, remember the days of psychotronics, ELF was always for the negative and bad stuff of, mind control and stuff. But if you use it right, it's great for all kinds of healing.
Well, 250 is not exactly ELF, but it is
Well,
kind of
not
low,
that
on the
one,
low
right,
end of
right.
things. What about, you didn't mention LEDs, but
Oh, LEDs are great too. I mean, I just
So-
stuck to this, but LEDs, especially in the 630, nanometer size,
right.
they do amazing things.
What about using that in a pulsed mode
Yeah,
or
put
just
'em together.
continuous? Or
Put 'em to-
continuous?
Put them together. Yes, we have found you mix things, there's synergistic effects and all these things are amazing. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I didn't want to make it so like all over the place, but because that's another lecture, really. It's another lecture because there's so many things you can do with lasers too. It's great.
Yeah.
If I go to it, if you're interested, it's called Light Relief. It's a $75 device, works for years. It's a little pad, LEDs, and you have about 4 different frequencies you can pick. Includes infrared and visible.
Lightrelief.com.
I couldn't tell for sure if it was my imagination, but I had experimented with LED arrays in 660, 880, and 940 nanometers.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
And, it felt effective. And then I decided to go to a cheap Chinese
Yeah.
website and got a little 3-watt red LED flashlight. It's got a focus lens, just like a regular
We
flashlight.
did too.
Okay, so I'm, yeah.
You get a whole
yeah.
bag, I mean, like 100 of them for like $2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, this
from
was,
China.
the more powerful ones, but, on a small scale, on a low wattage, it would, still do it. But
Yeah,
my dad was having problems with his feet healing because of poor circulation, and the doctors couldn't do anything. They were talking amputation, right?
Yeah.
That's their answer to
yeah, because you
everything.
got
Cut
the
and burn.
necrosis. There's
Yeah.
necrosis, inflammation, and you
So-
can't stop it.
I sent him one of these flashlights, a lithium battery, a long 18650 lithium battery and a charger, and he started applying it every day, and sure enough, he started getting circulation again. And the doctors were so disappointed that they didn't.
Yeah, they were getting ready to chop that up, right?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
love
that's
that,
what
yeah.
they had it scheduled, and I've had similar things with other techniques that I've used where they have surgery scheduled. I even had an MD once that had surgery scheduled for a back rotator cuff. And I have some water that is magically adapted and gave him some of that. And after about a week, he said, I'm canceling that surgery. And he was,
He was probably in a lot of pain, too.
he
but
was. He
felt
was.
the
He was
difference.
why he did it. Why he scheduled it is because he was addicted to the pain meds. Because that's the only way he could
That's the
sleep.
only thing they give you,
Yeah, and that's the only way he could sleep. And so he was going to go forward with the surgery, which I don't know, $25,000 or something outrageous. And in a short time, he was fixed and a happy camper, and would not give me a testimonial because that don't fit with allopathic medicine, and he'd catch a lot of flack for
Yeah.
saying something like that. Same thing with anesthesiologists. A lot of different stories. I could tell him that. But thanks for the, extra explanation about, because I wasn't sure if we were talking about, nanosecond frequencies. I was trying to figure that, is that megahertz, gigahertz? What is nano?
yeah.
So,
And this, you could explain that this was Dr. Gordon's idea.
uh-huh.
He literally discovered that in the NASA study, that rise time was the key to making it effective. So it's where he designed this instrument to just have that feature, and the pulse width was so narrow I couldn't even measure that scope.
Yeah, yeah, and it still works, yeah. And I have to say,
Excellent.
doctors are coming around, just like I showed that slide,
Right.
from Long Island, because, they're realizing the limitations that drugs have too.
You can
I
always
mean, even in
escape reality so
chemotherapy,
long.
I mean, I'm a living proof, I had T-cell treatment where they grabbed my T-cells, they took them out, they used pulsed electromagnetic fields to reawaken the gene that had turned off, that didn't recognize the cancer cells, put it back in, and within 2 weeks I was cancer-free. And this was proven with PET scans, okay, and with CT scans. So they're coming around. They're realizing, they're very limited with drugs. You could use both, but they're opening up. They really are.
And I guess in a way, you may have had that kind of success with a Beck blood pulsar.
Yeah, and that's what these machines were doing, but
Essentially,
again, like
Except
the
that they were
Flexner-
taking it out and
Yeah.
doing it and then putting it back in.
And the
You could
problem
have
with-
done it in vivo.
Yeah, and the problem with cancer is, you have tons and tons of cells, and they keep reproducing and
Right,
reproducing. So
right.
why not let the body, who knows how to handle those things, use the T cells?
And try to shut off the communication that the
Exactly.
cancer cells.
Start it up again. Your body's been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, hundreds of thousands.
Without any help from the
So they know what
primates.
they're doing. They just need to be fixed. And hey, you use the electric fields to do that? I mean, how easy is that?
I found it to be really
It's
simple.
remarkable.
You don't even have to be a rocket scientist.
No, you don't.
Thanks.
I know you had a question.
Hi, great
Hi.
presentation.
Thank you.
In the abstract for your presentation, there was mention of the NASA study using PEMF to elevate the VEGF growth factor. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, I wish I had that, but they discovered that if they were giving these impulses, they got the calcium channels activated. So even though they're not creating piezoelectric effects by walking, the stress on there, they could still open up the calcium channels to get the osteoblasts, which are the cells that create the bones, start developing and being created again. So that's why they're great for the astronauts, because they're in weightlessness. They can't do any stress on the bones while they're up there. So you have the little machine that's pulsing them and opening the channel, say, oh, calcium channel coming in. Okay, osteoblast time. They start making the osteoblasts. Yeah, it's incredible. It's something, everything is always simple once you know it, right? But until you get to know it and to study it, it's like, how does it happen? And our bodies are these amazing machines. I mean, I don't know if you ever have time on the internet, there's so many videos now showing the cells, how they communicate, and how they're walking, they're traveling in the bloodstream, and how one cell meets another, and they connect, the neural receptors, and they say, hi, who are you? Oh, I'm a T cell. And who are you? I'm a blastocyst, And then when the cancer cells, they're very smart. They evolved so well because they've been around as long as we have, right? We all have cancer cells in our bodies. It's just that the T cells are taking care of them. They're very smart. They say, oh, how am I going to get away from this T cell? So they put on a disguise. They put on a protein out of them, showing them to be anything but a cancer cell. So the neuroreceptors come by, the T cells come, who are you? Oh, I'm a neuroblast cell. But in reality, he's a cancer cell. So they, oh, okay, bye-bye, and they move on. They don't attack it and kill it. So that's why the T cell therapy is going to be big in the next 10 years for cancer therapy.
They've had an article out recently, I saw on the internet, that shows that, especially in later stages of cancer, chemotherapy does more harm.
Absolutely. I had 7 years of chemotherapy, okay? And let me tell you how chemotherapy works. It works great the first time, okay? And it'll get rid of 98% of your cells that are cancerous. But there's 2% left. So those 2% that were resistant to that chemotherapy start to multiply again, okay? So then a year goes by or 2 years and you relapse and you got cancer again. So the chemotherapy you had the first time doesn't work anymore. They give you another kind of chemotherapy. That one comes in, it takes care of it. It will kill 95%, 85%. And then the ones that are left are resistant to that. And then what happens? In a year or two later, they come back again too. And you got cancer again. You're relapsed. I lived this for 7 years.
And you can't eat.
Right.
You have no appetite.
Oh, that's,
Don't even
you know,
talk
it's
to her
just
about that.
awful. Yeah, I mean, the quality of
Gave her
life that you
cheesecake
have
every
with
night,
it
and
too.
she still wasn't
But
doing
the
it.
main thing to remember is that eventually there will be cancer cells that are resistant to any kind of chemotherapy that is out there, and you will not be cured. And on top of that, now you have all the chemotherapy side effects that have done damage to your good cells too. So you have less chances of getting healed or cured. And I used all these devices. These devices kept me alive, okay?
And pain-free.
But they didn't cure it. So I had to look for other things. And I knew to look for things that were going to work again at the cellular level that were not chemotherapy. And that's how we found the T cell treatment. It's just amazing. It's still in clinical trials, but I took the risk because my quality of life was so awful that I said, I got nothing to lose. It'll kill me, fine. I don't want to keep living like this anyway. So, yeah, they're turning around, folks. There's no doubt. But, for anything else, electrotherapy is wonderful. And all the devices you see out there, they're all wonderful. They all work. It's just that we're all different. And according to what our health issues are, pick the one that works best for you. That's all I could say. Okay? But it's not quack medicine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.